The diner was unusually busy that afternoon, the hum of conversations blending with the hiss of the coffee machine. Lila, the waitress, moved with practiced speed, carrying plates and refilling cups, but her mind kept wandering. From where I was seated, I could see her determination in every step, a graceful urgency hiding behind her calm demeanor. The bell above the door rang, and a man staggered in, holding his chest, his face pale, and sweat glistening on his forehead. He collapsed just inside the entrance, knocking over a chair and causing a ripple of gasps across the diner. Lila dropped the tray, her hands without a second thought, rushing over with her apron swinging behind her. "Call 911. Somebody help me," she shouted, keeping her voice steady despite the fear flashing in her eyes. I could see the man's fingers twitching weakly as she knelt beside him, checking for a pulse, scanning for any sign of life. The diner patrons froze, unsure whether to intervene or step back. Lila didn't hesitate. She turned to a man near the counter. "Help me tilt him onto his back and check his airway." With careful movements, they positioned him while she started performing CPR, her hands firm, methodical, and steady. "Keep talking to him. He has to hear us," she shouted, urging the few who dared to stay close. Time felt suspended, the moment stretching endlessly as Lila's hands pressed rhythmically on his chest. The faint beep of a heart monitor from a patron's smartwatch served as the only measure of urgency in the silent panic. "Stay with me? You're going to be okay," Lila said, leaning close, her breath mixing with the faint scent of coffee and antiseptic. People began recording on their phones, but she barely noticed, focused entirely on the man beneath her hands. Minutes passed like hours. Each one waited with hope and fear. Lila alternated compressions with breaths, her face flushed but determined. Suddenly, the man coughed, sputtering, his eyes flicking open in confusion and fear. A collective sigh of relief swept through the diner, some patrons clapping, others wiping tears from their eyes. Lila smiled weakly, exhausted but triumphant. "You're going to be fine. Just hang on a little longer." The paramedics arrived quickly, taking over with efficient motions, securing the man onto a stretcher and lifting him toward the waiting ambulance. Lila followed closely, giving a concise summary to the paramedics, ensuring every detail was noted. I could see the man's eyes search for hers before he was lifted away, a faint gratitude flickering across his pale face. The diner gradually returned to normal, but the energy had shifted. Everyone had witnessed something extraordinary. By the next day, Lila returned to her shift, tired but quietly proud, unaware that her actions had made headlines online. The story of her quick thinking and bravery spread rapidly, shared by dozens of people who had seen or heard about the incident. I noticed her pausing at the counter, reading comments on a tablet someone had left behind, her face a mixture of disbelief and amusement. "You've gone viral," someone whispered, and she chuckled, brushing her hair behind her ear, trying to appear casual. A week later, just as the diner began to empty after lunch, a sleek black car pulled up outside. The doors opened, and the same man, now looking healthy and well-groomed, stepped out with a small bouquet of flowers in his hand. He paused at the door, scanning the diner until his eyes locked on Lila, a small smile playing across his lips. Her hands froze mid-motion, the coffee pot in her grip rattling softly as he approached the counter slowly. "I just wanted to say thank you again," he said, his voice calm, deep, and sincere. Lila set down the pot, blinking, unsure if she should recognize him immediately or be polite first. "You don't have to," she started, but he raised a hand gently, stopping her. "No, I insist. You saved my life. And I want to make sure you know how much that means to me." He handed her the bouquet, and she accepted it reluctantly, unsure how to respond, overwhelmed by the moment. It's just my job," she murmured, brushing the words off, though her pulse raced with the attention. He laughed softly, the sound warm and comforting, filling the diner with a presence that made everyone else fade away. You didn't just do your job, you saved me. And I want to repay that in any way I can. Leela's heart fluttered nervously, the weight of his gratitude sinking in, but she stayed composed, her experience in dealing with customers helping her. People are saying your name all over the internet, he added, smiling, handing her a small card with his number scribbled on it. She glanced at it, hesitated, then slipped it into her apron pocket, unsure if she should feel excited or nervous. Thank you. Truly, she said softly, meeting his gaze with cautious warmth. He nodded, then stepped back slightly, letting her breathe and collect herself. Take care, Lila. I'll see you soon. And with that, he left, the door closing behind him, leaving a small trace of perfume and the echo of sincerity lingering in the air. She exhaled deeply, the adrenaline from the past week catching up to her, realizing she had done something monumental without even planning it. As she returned to cleaning tables, she smiled quietly, the world feeling just a little brighter and a little more full of possibility. I watched all of it unfold, amazed at her bravery and calm in the face of danger, knowing that this was a story worth telling. From where you're watching this video, write in the comments if you think you could stay calm like Lila did in that moment. Her courage, her quick thinking, and her heart had changed the life of a billionaire that day, in a way no one could ignore. And somewhere, deep down, I knew this was only the beginning of something neither of them could yet imagine. And next morning, the diner buzzed as usual, the smell of pancakes and coffee blending with the chatter of regulars. Lila arrived early, carrying her apron and a quiet sense of anticipation, wondering if he would return. She didn't have to wait long. The sleek black car pulled up again, and he stepped out with a more relaxed demeanor. He waved gently as he entered, and this time Lila felt a flutter of familiarity rather than nerves. "Good morning," he said warmly, his eyes scanning the diner until they found her. "Morning," Lila replied, trying to keep her voice steady, though her heart thumped in her chest. "I wanted to make sure you were okay," he said, sliding into the booth across from her, careful to keep the space polite but personal. Lila hesitated, then nodded. "I'm fine. Just a little tired from everything that happened." He smiled, leaning back slightly. "You don't understand. You saved my life, Lila. Not just with your hands, but with your courage." She blushed, shaking her head. It was instinct. Anyone would have done the same thing. "No," he said firmly, placing his hand over hers across the table. "Not everyone. Most people panic. Most people hesitate. You didn't." She felt warmth spread through her, a mixture of pride and something more she couldn't quite name. Over the next few weeks, he became a frequent visitor to the diner, not only for coffee, but for the chance to see her. They spoke about simple things at first: the weather, the city, the kind of music that reminded them of better times. Slowly, stories of their pasts began to surface, small vulnerabilities shared in quiet moments over steaming cups of coffee. He spoke of the pressures of running a business, the loneliness that came with wealth, and the moments he missed living a simpler life. Lila shared her own hardships, the long shifts, the feeling of being overlooked, and the small joys that kept her going. Each conversation built a bridge between them, a mutual understanding rooted in respect and shared humanity. He admired her strength, her quick thinking, and the warmth she offered everyone in the diner without expecting anything in return. She admired his humility, the way he could step out of his world and treat people as equals, not employees or subordinates. One rainy evening, as the diner emptied and the city streets shimmered with wet reflections, he stayed behind longer than usual. "I have something for you," he said, reaching into his briefcase and pulling out a small envelope. Lila raised an eyebrow, curious. "What is it?" "Just a little token," he said, handing it to her, "for saving my life and for reminding me that people like you exist." She opened it to find a handwritten note, along with a small key. The note read, "For when you're ready to see a world beyond this diner." Her eyes widened, the implications of the gesture sinking in, but she simply looked up at him, speechless. He smiled gently. "No rush. Just know the offer stands. I want you to have the life you deserve, if you ever choose it." For the first time in years, she felt a glimmer of hope for the future, not just for herself, but for something more. In the following days, he continued to visit, and the bond between them deepened without being forced or rushed. They laughed together, shared quiet moments, and discovered an unspoken comfort in each other's presence. The diner became more than just a workplace for Lila. It became a space of trust, where her bravery had sparked a connection that neither had expected. She began to see herself differently, not just as a waitress, but as someone capable of changing lives, including her own. One afternoon, he arrived with his assistant, a stack of papers in hand. "I have something to show you," he said, leading her to a small private office above the diner. He explained a project he was starting, a foundation to help everyday heroes like her, people who made a difference without recognition. Lila listened, awe and humility blending in her chest, realizing that her courage had opened a door she hadn't even known existed. "It's because of you," he said softly. "You reminded me that courage isn't measured by money or status. It's measured by heart." As the weeks turned into months, their relationship evolved naturally, built on trust, respect, and the shared memory of that life-saving moment. The diner became a symbol of the ordinary meeting the extraordinary, of small acts of bravery changing worlds in unexpected ways. From where you're watching this, write in the comments if you believe ordinary people can change lives just by being brave. Lila's story reminded everyone. Sometimes heroes come with aprons, sometimes billionaires learn humility, and sometimes life rewards courage in the most unexpected ways. Eventually, he invited her to a private dinner, not as a wealthy CEO, but as someone who wanted to know her, truly, beyond the headlines and online stories. They talked, laughed, and shared moments of quiet reflection, discovering how compatible two seemingly different lives could be when built on respect and shared experience. Lila realized that saving his life had not only changed his path, but had irrevocably altered her own, opening doors to opportunities she had never imagined. And as she left the diner that night, the streets glowing under city lights, she felt a deep sense of purpose and a quiet excitement for the future. Months later, she stood beside him at a charity event, her name mentioned as a hero in countless articles. She smiled at the cameras, but her eyes found him in the crowd, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. The billionaire who had once collapsed in a diner had found gratitude, friendship, and maybe love, all because a brave waitress had refused to turn away. And in that moment, Lila understood that courage, kindness, and quick thinking could create ripples that changed lives in ways nobody could predict. The diner remained, bustling and familiar, but for Lila, it was no longer just a workplace. It was where her life had transformed forever. She continued serving customers with the same warmth and dedication, now carrying a quiet confidence born of her experience and the knowledge of her own strength. Her story traveled far beyond the city, inspiring countless viewers and readers to believe in the power of ordinary people to do extraordinary things. And sometimes, when she glanced at the black car parked outside, she smiled, knowing that bravery and kindness could indeed change the world.